everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Jessica and this is A Fields Full House. So today's video I'm actually really excited about sharing with you guys. It was actually a requested video on how we train our children to do chores. If y'all have been around here for a while, you have seen our chore system, you have seen our family work together and our day in the life videos. We constantly, we do this every single day. It's just a natural flow to our family. And I was asked, how do you train your children to do this? So I'm excited to share with you guys my thoughts and tips on kind of how we manage this and make this all work. So if you haven't seen our chore system video, be sure to check that out. I will have it in the description box below. And on that note, if there's ever a video request from you guys, I would love to work on stuff like that. You can put those questions in the comments below, or you can email me, or you can even find me on Instagram. Okay, now if you happen to be new to my channel, we are a large family. We have 9 children and I am pregnant expecting our 10th baby. So chores are a big deal here. Our house gets messy very, very quickly because we have so many hands here making messes, okay? So first and foremost, let me lay down a huge disclaimer. We by no means are a perfect family, and does the chore system go perfectly every single day? No, because we are dealing with children and moms and attitudes and, you know, the whole thing. It does not go perfectly every single day, but we do have a very good rhythm that we have. So I just want to lay that disclaimer that my kids aren't whistling a tune while they're doing their chores or anything. So anyways, first and foremost, we do not pay for chores. We don't pay our children anything for their daily chores. We will pay for extra chores. Like if the playroom was an absolute disaster and I just didn't feel like getting there and doing it, or whatever the case may be, or if my kids were looking to make extra money, that was something that I would always pay them to do. Or if just anything outside of their ordinary chores, that's kind of a big job, that's what we would pay for. On that note, we do pay for the events that they want to do. If they want to go someplace with their friends and it's going to cost $10, or with our older girls are in the middle school group at our church and they do some events as well. Like they just went to some trampoline jumping place and it was $15 a kid, which adds up. That was $45 for us. And I told my kids, I'm paying for this because 1, I want you to have fun with your friends at church, but 2, y'all do a really good job at your chores around the house. And I think laying that out for them, I'm not going to pay for y'all to do these things if y'all aren't working well at the house. You know what I mean? So just on the note about paying, because that's a huge question among families. Do you pay for chores? That's just personally how we do it. It may not always be that way, but it's just the way that it is right now. Okay, a huge thing that we just do as an overall family, my husband and I, we practice at speaking positivity over our children. Now, we are by no means perfect at this. Yes, I lose my temper and all of that, okay? I'm never going to claim to be a perfect mother because I am not, and my husband is not a perfect father. But we do try hard at using positive reinforcement and using positive words. And one thing that I really try very hard to do is when the kids have done their chores, I say, thank you for sweeping the kitchen. I really appreciate it. And if it's time for the dishes, I do have to ask my kids. Some of my kids do their chores very well without me asking them. And again, this is a day-to-day thing. Sometimes they don't. And if the sink is full of dishes, I will just call the person who is in charge of dishes for the month. And I would just say, hey, would you please do the dishes? The sink is full again. I need the dishes done again. And they usually, yes, ma'am, and they do it. Because we've kind of laid this groundwork. Whenever our kids were 5, 6, and 7, our older kids, we laid it out. Okay, everybody is participating in chores, and everybody had something that they were in charge of. And here's a funny little story. When we started this with our older kids, this child will remain nameless. If you know me in real life, you will only be able to guess once of who did this. And I was like, okay, this is our chore system. We're all going to work together and keep the house clean. And this child said, well, if we're going to be doing all this, what are you going to be doing all day? To me, I was like, child, you better watch out. Anyways, it just still cracks me up to this day. But at that age, I believe she was 5 or 6, I said to her, you know what? You're right. This is a lot of work. And this is all the stuff that mommy does every single day. But if we all work together, mommy won't be so tired at the end of the day or throughout the day we will have more time to go to the park, to go to the library, to go see our friends, to go do fun things. If mommy is just left to do all the work in the house, I'm going to be exhausted by the end of the day, and I'm not going to have energy to do all this fun stuff with y'all. And she kind of was like, huh, okay, that makes sense. So just a quick side note there. So ever since then, this has been expected behavior of our children. Everybody participates in their chores. Like I said, we have a chore system, and check out that video if like you want more of the details of the chores and how we get it done. But like I said, it's expected behavior. We rotate it every month, and everybody has their job, and they know for that month, this is the job that they are in charge of. And by this point, we've been doing it so long, like I said, I do have to ask sometimes, and sometimes I don't. Like, it just kind of depends on the day and the messes. Like, if it's piled up again, say the schoolroom, whoever cleans the schoolroom, I walk in here and I'm like, oh goodness, Harper got in here and there's puzzles on the floor or whatever. Now, naturally, I try to get Harper to clean it up. Or if I just need the house cleaned super fast because we're having company, I can call that child and say, hey, I'm sorry, I know that you just cleaned this yesterday. However, it's a mess again. Like, I need you to clean it up again. Anyway, so on that note, now this might more pertain with having a large family, but it's my experience, and that's really all I have. So because we've laid this all down with our older kids, the little ones coming up along, they just follow suit. Like, they want to be involved. They want a chore. Whenever I'm like, okay, it's time to clean up, you know, everybody go do your chores, whatever. Reagan and Harper are like, oh, and they just start cleaning up and picking up along. Or I kind of will like, hey, why don't you help Jackson pick up the puzzles, or, you know, whatever it is. Which I just think it's cute because, and you'll see that, like, I'm sure if you don't have 9 kids, like, you'll still see that behavior, like if you happen to have a couple younger ones and a couple older ones. Anyways, but that's my experience with having a large family too. So one thing that we always stress to our kids is that, teamwork. We work together. Like I said before, if all this housework was left to mom or just the older sisters, or like mom and the older sisters, whatever the case may be, that's a lot of work on 1 or 2 or 3 people. And to where if we all take a part, it does not take us that long to do it. Like if I had someone call, like the house is destroyed, if I had someone call and say, hey, can I stop by later this afternoon? I can really have the house clean enough, cleanish, clean enough, not perfect, it's never perfect, and I don't strive for perfection, in about an hour. If it's really bad, maybe an hour and a half, because we work at this every single day, and I'm splitting up chores amongst 6 children that we can get it done. And on any one person, it's definitely less than an hour. Like if they did everything, like, you know, super good, and it's less than an hour per person, which I don't think that's pretty bad. So anyways, that is the focus on the positive reinforcement on how we have trained our children to do chores and how we make it work. So now let's talk about when things are not so positive and when kids complain or they just don't do a very good job. Now I am not talking about whenever, our kids will kind of grumble and complain like, oh, I have dishes this month and it is just not my favorite chore. Like, not that type of complaining. I'm talking like if they're stomping their feet or having a bad attitude, and mom, we've never really had anybody bold-faced tell us we don't want to do our chores. But in that instance, what we do is we add another chore to them, and it really kicks out that behavior very, very quickly, I promise you. And because we've had that happen a few times, like I only will have to say you need to straighten up your attitude or you will receive another chore. And usually that's all that I have to say, and we don't have to take it any farther. However, if we have an extremely stubborn child, sometimes it does. And I'll say, well, since you disobeyed and you were complaining about doing whatever chore it is, you now have to sweep the schoolroom, or you now have to pick up the garage, or whatever. I just find something. And if they complain even more on that point, yes, I would add an additional chore on top of that. Is that hard to follow through with? Yes, because by that point, usually people aren't very happy. However, it does teach them, and then the next time I usually only have to lay down that warning, okay? Now, on the same note, if they don't do their best work. Now, again, I'm not talking, so for example, right now, Jackson is the sweeper in the kitchen. He's 9. he does an okay enough job. Now, if I were to go in and sweep after him, which I do because I can't stand dirty floors, but am I going to get a lot more dirt? Yes. Okay. But if I know that he went in there and he tried his best, I'm not going to lay it on thick or anything like that. But if I go in there and it just is very obvious there's chunks of piece of paper or chunks of food still on the floor, I'm going to call him back in and say, hey, Jackson, I know that you said that you swept, but let me show you this spot and this spot and this. You really missed some big areas. I need you to re-sweep, please. And they typically do. Now, let's say a kid goes in there and like that would be like if he overlooked things or something. But if a kid happens to just, you know, trying to get away with something, we would require them to do that chore again. And if we know that they really were kind of pitching a fit about it or whatever, we would add an additional chore on top of that. And again, I'm telling you, that has been kind of the best form of, of discipline. I want to lay a disclaimer. I am not giving anybody discipline advice because every family runs differently and you have to do what works best for your family, just like I have to do what works best for my family. And our family, that has been what works the best, is by giving them additional work, because they don't want additional work. They want to do their schoolwork, their chores, and they're ready to go outside and play. So anyways, those are my tips and tricks and kind of how we handle the discipline issue if we have kids complain or not do very well with their chores. I don't feel like it's been, you know, like, okay, sorry. I had a kid like standing over here jumping up and down dying to ask me a question, and I'm like, it's just distracting. I can't really talk. So anyways, that is how we manage it all. That is how we have made it work. I hope that something that I shared blessed you and maybe gave you a, maybe gave you a good idea on how to make it work for your family.
Hi.
And if y'all have any questions or video request ideas, I would love to hear them and I would love to chat with you in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.